a world where the number of movies available is great, but many are so bad, you'll learn a new definition of hate. One man sifts and reviews through the movie sludge. One man will be the movie cop, jury, and judge. He goes by many names, but you know him by Movies Merica.
Today, we'll take you back to the old days of 1982, when the first compact disc was created and this little movie E.T. came out.
Roll that intro.
Hey, all you beautiful movie-loving people out there, live from a red carpet somewhere, surrounded by celebrities. This is the Movies Merica podcast with Van Ebert, where movie reviews meet cold brews. Van will review your favorite and maybe not so favorite movies while enjoying some ice-cold beers and saying cheers. Now let's head into the theater and join our illustrious movie reviewer du jour, who's no doubt got the beer ready to pour, Van Ebert.
Hey, everybody. Hey, forget about the grind and ease your mind, okay? Because good times are here. The Movies Merica podcast is in your face. Yes. And so, since we have yet another week there, my friends, of a slow box office week, I decided to go back to a movie that is very near and dear to my heart. I was a little kid when this movie came out, and boy, I'll tell you, it's one of my favorites. I'll tell you, not just for sentimental reasons, but just because it's just a great, great classic, just iconic movie. So, and of course, I'm speaking of one Steven Spielberg's E.T.
I'm keeping him. You can't tell. Not even Mom. What's happening? I don't know. Something scary. You look great!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. E.T. phone home.
E.T. phone home. It's too bumpy. We'll have to walk from here. You gotta find it. E.T. Stay with me. I love you.
Where are we going?
Follow me!
I'll be right here.
How about we just let that breathe there for a minute, huh? Yeah. All right. Well, hey, before we get into the review, just let me tell you that, as many of you may already know, this podcast, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many other fine platforms that feature fine podcasts. And if you happen to be on Apple Podcast, zip on down to the very bottom of all the episodes, and you'll see funky 5 stars, or you'll see funky 5 stars. There we go. And feel free to give it a 5-star rating if you truly feel that way. I am not trying to get anybody to give it a dishonest rating. Don't do that for me or anybody, of course. And then also while you're down there, there's a write a review button, I believe, that you can click on. And feel free to click on that and write a review, good or bad. It's all good or bad. I don't know. And then also if you zip all the way back to the top right in Apple Podcast, and you click on the ellipsis, the 3 dots, there's a follow the show option in there. And if you click on that, it's just going to download all the Movies Merica episodes automatically for you. So one less thing to do as part of your daily grind, all right? And also, all the episodes are available on moviesmerica.com. And as far as like reaching out to me or just seeing what I'm up to here, if you are interested, I am on Twitter and Instagram on those social media sites. Yeah, you bet. And of course, I'm there under Movies Merica. So if you want to share anything with me or check it out in my posts, or get on there and get in my DMs and tell me how, splendiferous you think I am or how terrible you think I am, hey, let me have it. Good or bad. Either way, all right? So, okay. And so, hey, let's get right into one of the best parts of each episode because, again, this is Movies Merica, and this is where we mix movie reviews with ice, cold, tasty, funky brews. Yes, that's right. And this episode is no different. Today's Lucky Brew is coming to us from Japan. Yes, absolutely. So the imperial country. This brew today is Kirin Ichiban. Yes. And this is First Press 100 malt. And I first had one of these when I was stationed over there. I was in the Air Force. I was stationed over there for almost 3 years. And, I had Kirin and Sapporo and Asahi. Those are like the big Japanese beers over there. And I remember sitting around. They used to have these apple blossom festivals over there where literally people would just sit on, just at parks under apple blossom trees or cherry blossom trees, cherry blossom trees. But they would just sit on picnic blankets and just drink beer and sake for days. Yeah, just as in celebration of cherry blossoms. And so I'm kind of going back in time with my beer today. We're going back in time as far as movies. Well, we're going back in time with my beer as well. So you know what? To that, I'm going to have a little drink. Okay, that wasn't a little drink. So, but that's what I call a little drink. So, but I'm a master of excess. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's get into E.T. the Extraterrestrial. This, as I'm sure you know, because this isn't exactly a movie that came out last week, right? This is an iconic, legendary, groundbreaking, epic, profound, earth-shattering, and lastly, phenomenal motion picture event. Yes. This was the beginning of the height of Steven Spielberg's powers, okay? Now, he had already just put his name on the map all around the world with Jaws in 1975. And as you know, Jaws was the movie that was the first summer blockbuster, right? Now, every summer, we talk about the movie blockbuster season of summer, the new Marvel movie, the new Star Wars movie, the new Tom Cruise movie, the new whatever movie, right? The big blockbusters, the movies that will have these big budgets, right? And if your movie, chances are if your movie is released in the summer, it's supposed to make some major bank. It's supposed to be a summer blockbuster, right? And yeah, Jaws was really what people thought of as the very first blockbuster. Okay, so Steven Spielberg had Jaws in 1975. Then he had another big hit, Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 1977 with Richard Dreyfuss, Francois Truffaut. That was a big box office hit, right? So by the time E.T. came out in 82, I'm sorry, let me slap myself in the face over here. How can I forget? Raiders of the Lost Ark. In 1981, like the year before E.T., That was another big hit, right? That was like Spielberg's, interpretation of like Hollywood serial adventures, that he grew up watching. Okay, so he had 3 mega hits, on his mantle, on his resume. Okay, we'll forget about 1941, right? So that was not a hit, and so with E.T., it was the beginning of the height of Steven Spielberg's powers on being, because Steven Spielberg, I don't know I was too young in 1982 to know if Steven Spielberg was a household name, by that time. But man, after E.T., your grandma, your grandpa, your Aunt Sally, your Uncle Billy, your third cousin, Momo. Everybody knew who Steven Spielberg was, right? It was that. This movie was that kind of phenomenon. And I think like maybe the closest thing I could think of for, people that are like half my age, the younger generation, would maybe be like Harry Potter, the Harry Potter movies. I could think that's the only thing I could think of as far as like maybe, the more modern equivalent there. Because I could just picture like millennials, thinking, back to, where's the first time that, where were you? How old were you when Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone came out, right? Well, for us mature people, us people of a certain age, I was 10 years old in 1982. So do the math, right? As far as how old I am. And so when E.T. came out, being 10 years old watching this movie, man, it really hits you, right? I can imagine being, obviously adults took their kids to go see E.T., and I'm sure that adults like this movie too. But yeah, when you're a little kid, man, E.T. just hit. It just floored you, right? So many emotions, when you're watching this movie. So many, And this is a movie where I first just love movies. This is where my love of movies started, just because it like really hit me in a really deep spot, when I was watching this movie. And it, like, there's things you can do that you enjoy that are just kind of passive in nature. You're throwing a baseball with your buddies or riding your bike around the neighborhood. It's kind of passive. You just like, just doesn't really make an impact on you. It doesn't really get to your core or anything like that. You don't really feel anything inside too much, but when you take the direction of Steven Spielberg and the screenplay from Melissa Matheson and that John Williams score all put together with, this alien, that you fall in love with, and his relationship with Elliott. It just really gets it, because especially when you're a little kid, right? And I was a little kid at that time, so yeah, the movie had it was like the launch, right? It's like the rocket ship launch of me loving movies. Okay, it's just because this movie is like a cinematic experience. It's not ashamed of being a movie. I'm not saying there's movies that are ashamed of that, but there's movies that are kind of minimalist, and they're not really like the big bombastic, in your face, like just obvious to anybody. As hard as you could ignore a movie, this movie E.T. is such a cinematic masterpiece. It's such a epic movie that I don't care like what your politics are, how cynical or positive, how optimistic, what your attitude is. You love this movie, right? This is an iconic movie, a everlasting part of pulp culture, and just totally eternal part of the zeitgeist, right? And so that's how big this movie was. It was just this huge phenomenon in 82. I mean, it just took over everything. You know, TV, radio, posters everywhere. You see billboards for it everywhere. Every news show, every TV interview show. I mean, just every corporation that comes out with commercials, like try to tie it into E.T. E.T. cereal, you had E.T. merchandising, E.T. toys. That's everywhere in 82. And on top of that, this movie, when it was released on June 11th, 1982 in the U.S., it was released in other countries after June 11th, 82. But this is one of those movies. Nowadays, like, movies get released internationally before they come over, to the U.S. to be premiered over here. Back then, the good old days, America got the movie first, right? And so premiered on June 11th, 1982, and it held it was like the biggest grossing movie of all time for 11 years. I held that spot until it was knocked off by yet another Steven Spielberg movie, Jurassic Park, in 93, I think. So 93, 94. Yeah, so and like I was saying, this movie was a phenomenon, and as part of that, this was the number one movie for 16 weeks total. Yeah. And like I said, it came out in June, and they re-released it in December, and it just went right back to number one when they re-released it in December of 82. So, yeah, and it wasn't just a big box office success. It was a critical success. Roger Ebert gave it, 2 thumbs up. He just said that, this movie was, it evoked childhood wonderment, and it just had that cinematic feel. I'm paraphrasing what his review was, but I would take from that he gave it 2 thumbs up. So and a number of other movie critics just raved about this movie. It was nominated for a Best Picture Oscar, but it inevitably lost out to Gandhi. Okay, Ben Kingsley and Gandhi, and. Even though Gandhi beat it out for Best Picture, the director of Gandhi, Richard Attenborough, he himself, even the director of the movie that won Best Picture over E.T., said E.T. should have won. Can you believe that? Because he said that, be going into the Oscars, he was afraid. He fully expected E.T. to win Best Picture, and he said it should have. Okay. I can't remember what the word he said that he used to describe his own movie. Gandhi, in its own right, is a good movie, but it's no E.T., all right? But, yeah, Richard Attenborough said that his movies are typically more morose, right? And Gandhi fits that bill. And so, I'm sitting here right now emphatically telling you E.T. got robbed, okay? E.T. got robbed for Best Picture, but, the Oscars, there's something about the Oscars, 9 out of 10 times, if your movie is like a big box office success, good luck winning Best Picture, okay? Because you're dealing with the Dom Perignon and Foie Gras, crowd, right? As far as the Academy voters, they want to look like they're more cultured than they actually are, and they're just like, oh, well, we would never vote for a movie that was a big box office success that starred Gulp and Alien. Oh, that's beneath us. Never have a picture win Best Picture that made that kind of money and had breakfast cereal named after it. No, can't do it. Muffy, more caviar, please. No, can't have that. No, you can't have a big box office movie that touched so many hearts and was a big icon and just got many more people to the movies, right? Last time I checked, the Academy Awards are a movie award. Got more people to the movies to experience a profound, electrifying experience in a movie. E.T. did that, at a higher rate than any other movie in the world. And it was just a fantastic movie to boot. Why didn't it win Best Picture? because the reasons I just told you. Okay, it's yeah. I would say it floors me, but I understand why. Why the hoity-toity Academy voters, were what their reasoning was. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna let that go. And I get, and probably another knock on this movie that got it to lose Best Picture is it generated at least $1 billion in merchandise. $1 billion was like the last figure I saw, like as of like 1998. I haven't researched like what it's made after 98, but I'm assuming it's made more money after 98. But yeah, it had made $1 billion in merchandising, by 1998. So, now about the movie itself, the content of the movie itself, I should probably kind of get into that, right? Just a little bit. I saw it again recently in IMAX, and obviously the opening credits came up, and I had forgotten that in this movie, I mean, it's weird. The opening credits, just the music behind it, they make it sound like you're about to watch a horror movie, okay? I mean, when you watch the credits, the music behind it, it's just kind of creepy and moody. And I was like, I mean, I didn't mind it, but I was like, wow, this movie, we're going to see a horror movie here. But instead of a family-friendly alien movie here. But you know what? Hey, who better to hear about this movie than from the director himself? All right, let's talk to some guy named Steven Spielberg.
E.T. was a gift that came from the heavens for me. I was in Tunisia making Raiders of the Lost Ark, and we were setting up a shot, and I was picking up fossils in the desert, which used to be the bottom of the ocean millions of years ago. And we were out there in the Nefta Desert. I was picking up, and I was remembering the end of Close Encounters, when Richard Dreyfuss goes up into the mothership, and just before that, the little alien comes down and does the hand signs to Francois Truffaut. And it just hit me out of the sky. I thought, what if the alien had stayed behind on Earth? What if he didn't? What if it was a kind of foreign exchange? Dreyfuss goes away and the alien stays, and it suddenly this whole story hit me like a ton of bricks.
Greatest movie director ever. Period. Okay, so yeah, and talking about that merchandising, the $1 billion right there. This is where one of my favorite candies, Reese's Pieces, made its mark. Okay, Reese's Pieces stock shot up 65% from being in this movie E.T. Okay, it was a great decision. Where the inverse of that was M&M's turned down being featured in this movie, and boy, has that been like one of the dumbest business decisions ever. So Reese's Pieces wins out, M&M's wins. Or loses. Woo! Boy, I think I've had too much of that Kirin Ichiban, but it is very tasty. Yes. Hey, speaking of which, let me take a little tug on that. All right. Not too much there, Van, because apparently you can't talk right after drinking too much of it. One fun fact about this movie is Harrison Ford had a bit part as a teacher in this movie, but ultimately the scene was cut. So not sure why that was, but yeah, Harrison Ford was in this movie. And another funny tidbit about this that involves Harrison Ford was he was actually married to the screenwriter of E.T., Melissa Matheson, at the time. And Steven Spielberg, after he thought of the story, he asked Melissa, if she would write the movie, and she initially did not want to write it, and Harrison convinced her to write it, and obviously good for her and good for us. It was a fantastic screenplay. So about the stars, yeah, Henry Thomas. He did a couple movies that I can think of after E.T., but then he just kind of disappeared until I think like Legends of the Fall was like the first movie I saw with him back, kind of back into the fold back in '94. But I think there's a lot of years where he was out of the spotlight there. Drew Barrymore, she hasn't gone anywhere. She's obviously been in the Hollywood game ever since then. She had kind of a troubled childhood and troubled period in her life, but she seems to have bounced back. But yeah, she was adorable as Gertie in this movie. Another actor out of E.T. that made it somewhat is C. Thomas Howell. He plays one of Michael's friends, Elliott's brother Michael, one of his friends there. So Peter Coyote. He plays the sinister figure, that has the keys jangling off his belt. But ultimately turns out to be a swell guy at the end, right? So, and I think he probably hooked up with Elliott's mom after this movie. But hey, that's a whole other story. That's not for the kiddies. Come on. And I would be remiss if I did not do a review on E.T. and not mention the soundtrack. The soundtrack from John Williams, who is a maestro with the most emphatic definition of that word maestro that I can attribute to him. I mean, check this out. Take a bow, John Williams. Take a bow. Man, he's just done so many phenomenal, fantastic soundtracks. He came up with the Jaws theme, and I think even Steven Spielberg said that when John Williams first told him about, the do-dum, do-dum, like John Williams was, before he played that for Steven Spielberg the very first time, he was describing it, right? And Spielberg was like, what? That just kind of sound goofy and corny, he that's what he thought the idea sounded like, right? And then John Williams played him the notes, and obviously, the Jaws theme just, became what it did. And then he moved on to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and he's got, this iconic, recognizable sound from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and his music. Before I say anything else, his music is just rapturous, right? He does a great job at getting you to feel certain things, right? From all over the emotional spectrum, right? He gets you to feel, just kind of melancholy or in a vulnerable, emotional, gentle, delicate state, like just a feeling, an aura and a feeling of gentleness and just quiet, right? Just a quiet, tender moment. And then, the Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark theme kicks in. It fosters all kinds of totally different emotions, right? Just like excitement and, just like that, just your heart pounding in your chest, right? You're just like, the hair on your arms stand up. You're just like on the edge of your seat. You're just excited and just psyched and just, just those kind of emphatic, exciting emotions, right? So, feeling of dread, fear, apprehension, all these things, and this is from, John Williams, a guy that he obviously has passion for what he does, and because it shows through so much, and he is just a legend, a revered figure in all of entertainment for all time, and God, man, one of my heroes. And so, yeah, it's just two of my heroes coming together in this one movie. Steven Spielberg and John Williams. Just wow. And I'm just so glad that they've paired up in so many movies since this came out. And yeah, I mean, I can't watch this movie enough. It's just fantastic, fantastic. So, you know, yeah, check it out again. Obviously, I'm sure pretty much like 100% of the people that are listening to this have seen E.T. It's been out for 40 years now. But yeah, just, yeah, I couldn't give it my highest recommendation here. But anyway, hey, you know, thanks a lot for, you know, taking this trip down memory lane with me and jumping in the Wayback Machine with me to 1982. And with that, hey, I just want to thank you all for listening, and yeah, check me out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Check me out on moviesmerica.com and on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm on Facebook as well. And hey, with that, everybody, get out there. Those movies aren't going to watch themselves. Bye.
Hey guys, don't leave the video quite yet. Okay, I've got the popo. They're coming after me, and I don't have much time to tell you, but you need to like and subscribe this video right here down below. It's right down there. It's just waiting. It's waiting for you down there, okay? And make sure you watch these videos over here too. You'll be doing me a big favor. I'm gonna be in handcuffs pretty soon. All right. Thanks for watching.